So I'd like you to play a little imagination game with me for a minute. I'd like you to imagine that every morning when you wake up, you couldn't wait to start your day and your business, whatever business projects you had that day. And that this excitement that you felt actually in your belly, not because you had a deadline that somebody was saying that you had to meet. So just imagine what that might feel like. And now I want you to imagine yourself at a networking event or talking to people about your product. And I'd like you to imagine that you had confidence, that you knew exactly what to say to attract your ideal client. You know, this avatar that Mike and Dale have been talking about, that you knew exactly what to say. Well, I want to tell you that that's what I'm finding with the power of why. I have been doing transformational work for 30 years. You are beginning to date me, but that's not hard. 30 years. And you know, transformational work is really about shifting your perspective and seeing the world through a broader lens. And that has allowed me over the years to really begin to experience my world differently, my work differently, etc. And there were times that I knew when I was on or in the zone, and then there were times when I was really clear I wasn't. And what I really didn't seem to have a handle on was what the difference was. I mean, I felt the difference in my body, right? I could see the glazed over deer in headlights look sometimes as I talked about my business. And then there were times when all of a sudden it was like we were connected, the person and I. And, you know, they would ask the questions and I'd, know what question to ask, etc. And I believe in all the studying I've been doing on the power of why, that this is what was missing. This is what I didn't consciously have a handle around how to distinguish for myself and then how to use it. And that's what I think that I'm beginning to get a real pulse on right now. And it's made an enormous difference for me in what I'm going to offer in my business, how I speak about my business, and most of all, the way I feel about my business. Okay? All right. So the next, I got to tell you, I haven't done a PowerPoint presentation since I was at Intergroup of Arizona in 1995. Ah, there it is. It works.
Well done.
So what this is, so I'm borrowing this from Simon Sinek. All right? I want to give full credit to Simon. All right? This is Simon's book, and Mike was good enough to put the link up for you all, that if you haven't had a chance to watch it before, you can watch it after the presentation. Can you tell I'm a little bit enthralled with Simon's book? But this is his book, okay? So the Golden Circle is really a representation of something that Simon created, right? One of the way Simon does things is he can take very complex things and make them very simple. That's one of his hows, by the way, is that he simplifies everything. And he does that because that's the way he chooses to understand things, okay? So let's look at the Golden Circle. How many of you know what you do? What you do is the product, the whatever, okay? So all of you really know what you do, right? How many of you know how you do it? Maybe. And how many of you have a handle on why you do it? You do? Okay. And you knew. Because Connie said she's been working on hers. Okay, great. All right. So, I want to give an example for those of you. How many of you have watched the video, by the way? A few of you. Okay. So here's what I want to do. I want to give you kind of a brief example of a company, then that will help you understand what this is all about, okay? And I'm going to use the example of Apple. Apple is a company that is really, really clear about their why, or at least they were while Steve Jobs was there. We're going to see whether the culture really can carry on the why. You know, it's yet to be determined. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started Apple in the 60s. And what was going on in the 60s was a revolution. Power to the people was the cry. You know, I mean, people were out in the streets. I mean, it was a war zone in many cities, right? So Wozniak and Jobs wanted to join the revolution. They wanted people, the common people, to have the power of the corporation. And the way they chose to do it was to make a computer. Now, this is an important distinction because they didn't choose to make a computer so that they could crunch data, etc. What was behind them making a computer was to give power to the revolution that was sweeping the country. All right? And they always worked to challenge the status quo. All right? So the status quo at the time was a big computer, you know, I mean, John worked for IBM, right? They had houses full of computing power. Pardon?
It was all about data.
It was all about data, right? So Apple came along, and they were all about being able to have you and I sit down at a computer and being able, now there was no internet, but we could do powerful things on a computer that we couldn't do if we weren't on a computer, all right? But the perspective of IBM and the perspective of Apple were extremely different. As time went on, Apple also was able to, because they were always challenging the status quo, they came out with the iPod. They were not the first ones to make an MP3 player. First MP3 player was built 22 months before that by a company that advertised a 5 gigabyte MP3 player. I remember when my nephew got an MP3 player and I looked in, I had no clue what this kid was talking about. None whatsoever, right? Apple came along and said, we're going to put 1,000 songs in your pocket. They spoke from power of the people. 1,000 songs in your pocket. Okay? So this is the power of the why, okay? Gives us the way we talk about things. It gives us the way we focus our attention. It also gives Apple the distinction of being able to produce and successfully sell computers, iPods, iPads, and telephones. Other companies who call themselves computer companies have come out with tablets, right? And how successful have they been? Not very. Because we think of them and we relate to them as a computer company. But Apple has built this aura around themselves, right? If you have an Apple, you are a person probably who's cutting through the status quo. All right? There is some kind of aura around going to Starbucks, opening up your computer and having this glowing apple right there, right? It gives a feeling. This is important because this relates to brain science. And what I'm going to tell you, if you don't know about it, there's tons of information out there. But it's all very well documented, all right? What happens in the rational linear part of our brain? The neocortex, it's what separates us from other mammals, all right, is the neocortex. It's the ability to speak, have language, okay? Language lives in the neocortex. And this is where the fact that IBM says, hey, we've got a faster computer, you know, we can crunch so much data, we can do X, Y, and Z, all right? This part, the why and the how, correspond to the limbic part of the brain. And the limbic part of the brain is the emotional part of the brain, And what's so significant, it has no language. So that's why you'll hear people say, it just feels right, right? And sometimes they'll put their hand on their gut, It feels right. Well, even though they may be experience a feeling here, this really is a function of the brain. And here's the significance of this. Your emotions drive your buying decisions. You may think you make rational, linear, or you can give us all the data why you do something, but guess what? You made your decision based on the emotions, and then you use the neocortex of your brain to explain why. Okay? Does that make sense? Any questions? Okay. This is all an important part of this, because going back to Apple, when you recognize what your why is, then you speak through your why, you don't speak through your what. All right? For me, I could say, well, I do women's groups, I do one-on-one coaching, blah, blah, blah. Dale can say, we do social media classes, we're the most economical. Somebody else says, we're most economical, we've got this great promotion going. But guess what? This is what's going to drive a person's decision. Okay. Get to do this again. So why have why in your business? All right? So the first area I want to talk about is attracting your ideal clients and customers. Because your ideal clients and customers have the same kind of belief you do, and beliefs drives emotions, okay? They are going to show up and resonate with you. I need to tell you, you do not want everybody to be your customer. How many of you have had customers that you worked really hard to get, and you couldn't get rid of them fast enough? Yeah, he's got his hand up. It's happened to everybody. The customers you want are the customers who believe what you believe. Because guess what? Those customers don't expect the lowest price. All right? They don't expect things to be perfect. A la Apple. Apple's slower. Apple has just as many bugs as everybody else. Right? Apple can't necessarily do everything a PC can do. But I'll tell you, if you're a loyal Apple person, you're willing to not worry about that. All right? Because you believe what Apple believes, all right? Okay. The other one I want to talk about is employees. Number one, when employees believe what you believe, you will have loyalty and you will unleash creativity and innovation in an extraordinary way. Companies who take good care of their employees have employees that take good care of their people. A la Southwest Airlines. How many of you think Southwest Airlines is a fun place to fly? Right? Yeah. Yeah. But, they take good care of their, my experience has been that they take better care of their flying customers than the average airline does, right? There's a warmth, there's a way when they get on the plane, right? They aren't standing in the back of the galley, hi, right? They're out there, they're greeting you, all right? And when your employees come first and take care of your people, you will have loyalty both from your customers and from your employees. Okay. This is an important one. Excitement can motivate people to purchase. All right? And I want to be clear here that you do not have to have your why to be successful in business. But if you want to sustain business, if you want to sustain loyalty and bring out innovation and creativity from your employees, then you want your why. Because you can be motivated by bonuses, by trips to Hawaii, by, all kinds of things. But they're short term, and the focus of those employees will be on getting that bonus or getting that promotion. All right? When a person has their why, there is charisma. How many of you tuned in to Steve Jobs to watch him unveil a new product. Now, excuse me. Here was a guy in blue jeans and a black shirt standing in front of a huge techno screen, right? But he picks up the iPad, and I was going to bring mine today to do this, and he holds it like this, right? This man had charisma, all right? And when you have charisma, you develop this emotional bond with your customers, all right? Steve Jobs had it. And guess what? This is not happening in your head. This is happening in your biology. The number one need for all human beings is the need to belong, right? It is a universal human need. And when we resonate with somebody that believes what we believe, we have a sense of belonging, like our tribe, you know? Alrighty. So, finding your why. So there's something, I gave all of you a handout. It was on your desk. I hope everybody have one? Okay. Alrighty. So there's some things about this. Why is a process. I want to tell you, I have been in this process, and John can attest that I have been dreaming why, talking why, eating why. And like I've told you, I've known for a long, long time when something felt right to me, but I couldn't articulate it. So my first articulation of my why before I even started delving into this, I always said my purpose was to empower women to reach their full potential. Well, that's pretty cerebral for me. Now, for some people, that might really work, all right? But for me, it was very cerebral. Then a few weeks ago, I got, okay, so my why is that women will live from the fire in their belly. A little bit better for me. Yeah, a little bit better for me. All right? But now my why, I now, as a part of the process of this, have been working it as a part of Martin Luther King's process. I so love Martin Luther King, and I have been so inspired by his I Have a Dream speech, as were 250,000 people who went before. Now, this is before he even gave the speech. His I Have a Dream speech was given in Washington, D.C. in August. 250,000 people without any use of the internet or texting or cell phones got themselves to Washington, sometimes riding 8 and 10 hours on a bus, to stand in the humidity of Washington, D.C. to hear this man give a speech. 25% of those people were white. He wasn't speaking only to blacks. He was speaking all people. And he was speaking, I have a dream. He didn't say, I have a plan. He says, I have a dream. And that's where you begin to inspire people, okay? So I sat down and I wrote I have a dream. Now, you can see without me even telling you that this really resonates. So I have found the words that really match the resonance. So this is a big part of it. Your limbic system is going to be the test for you as to whether you found your why. If your why lives up in your head, you have that part, but it needs some more work to get into the emotional part. I'm a pretty emotional person, so I have some pretty good access to that. Some people don't. It's fine. It doesn't mean anything that you don't. It just means that it may take a little more reflecting time, a little more willingness to pay attention to what you're feeling, all right? So, I have a dream that all women will live by choice. I have a dream that all women will raise their arms and say yes to their life. So this is for me so I invite you at some point to try I Have a Dream, because that format really helped me. You can try the format I Have a Vision. somebody told me, somebody else I was playing with this the other day, said, oh, vision works much better for me than I have a dream. Great. So I want can be another way that people will find it. So it's going to be your own language, whatever that is. But whatever that language is, it's going to drive right into your belly, all right? Or wherever you get that emotional feeling for yourself. Now, I've given you some questions. The questions are a starting point for you. You might come up with some other questions that you think would help you drive yourself in this place. Great. All right. Go back and think about, what did you love to do as a kid? All right. Who were you as a kid? All right. I was just a monkey. I was active. I was creative. I was, my mother came out one morning and I was on top of the refrigerator and I pulled her hair. And I'm 3 years old, right? So I've always had a lot of that kind of raw energy. Maybe you were a kid who was really kind of quiet, all right? Liked to go off and play by yourself. Whatever those are, all those things are going to start filtering into who you are and what this why is. What did you love to do as a kid? What really just went rah, like you couldn't wait the next day to go up and get up and do that or go there. All those kinds of things start pointing to that why, okay? And I have to tell you, money is never a why. It is always a result, okay? All right, so there are a couple things that I have. I have a flyer. Did I hand those out? No. I'm going to start a Wise Women's Circle. Here's the flyer. You can get in touch with me if that's of interest to you. All right. If you gentlemen are interested, 7. Okay. If you gentlemen are interested, please see me. We can set something up for the guys. I've had this request to work in a women's group. Men often would rather work one-on-one or maybe with just a couple of other guys. That's great. I work with men and for women, and my primary audience is women, okay? So this is how I wrote this. So this is to show you how much of a process this is. This was written 2 days ago, all right? So this is what I really believe. I believe that all of you have dreams. You all have unique gifts. And you all have a natural exuberance for life. Now, that natural exuberance may have gotten covered up by, circumstances, but it's there. And I'm committed that you find freedom to express your gifts and a chance to reach for your biggest dreams, and that you really experience that natural exuberance for life. So, are there questions? I'll try and answer them if I can. Might be about the why process.
Is anybody struggling with understanding what the fire in your belly is? Does everybody kind of understand what that is? First of all.
Yeah, if you don't, it's fine, and I have some. I can help you right now with it. Does everybody have a sense of what that means or what they'd feel when they hit it? You do? Okay. All right. So you've all had times when you experience yes, this is what I'm about. This is where I want to be, right? Yeah.
Being an adult that's been overshadowed and over, an abundance of activities and tasks and duties and responsibilities, how do you do you have a shortcut to cutting that fire in your belly? Don't tell you, I'll be honest in front of all of you, I find myself really unemployed today. And I've been struggling for the last 2 to 3 years about what is my why, and I know there's all these great gifts and attributes that I have. It's narrowing it down and really getting to that point when I have to get my daughter here and I have these
Yes.
responsibilities and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Is there a shortcut?
No. Sorry about the answer.
Well, I guess
I-
I need more in depth, but I mean, is there a way to dip into that pool every once in a while?
Yes, there is. So number one, one of the things is I would really recommend that you find 15 minutes a day that's yours. Okay, even if that's getting up 15 minutes, if it's, getting your daughter down and just making that appointment with yourself just as important as any place you have to take her. Okay? So that gives you the beginning of that window. Okay? Then go back and look at where in even the last 5 years have you felt this real excitement. There have been things you've done. There have been times when maybe it was at some performance of your daughter's. Okay? Maybe it was something, I see a smile on your face.
I just love the fact that you know that. I just think that's really a special gift to you.
Thank you. So, think about those times. Keep a little pad, keep a little notebook of some kind in your purse. When you're taking her someplace and you have to sit and wait, that can be another time. All right? Make some notes. Pay attention to the way that you're feeling inside. It's there, Katrina. It's just that you're right. It's been covered over by all the busyness and all the responsibilities. Yeah. That help? Okay. Yeah.
What came up for me when I was saying is a childhood thing.
Yeah.
About, and that was, I love to, I was very competitive. I mean, I'd be out playing in the streets, baseball and football with boys, but I was competitive, very competitive.
Yeah.
And that was just something I just loved. And then artistic, very creative, I really feel that stuff.
So this is perfect, Pam. Yeah, this is perfect. And then the thing to start asking, did you like to do art with yourself? Or by yourself? Or was this something you liked to do with your